This is a Fairmount about Fairmount, the new Visions Civic League podcast. Hear from guests that matter to you. Real people, real talk, real facts.
Hello, neighbors. I'm excited today to sit with my friend Faith Walker. She's the executive director of RVA Rapid Transit, but we've actually known each other for a while. We ran into each other at the East End Festival recently, and I realized, you know what? I should really have Faith on here because there are some important things happening in her sphere. So, Faith, to kick it off, what should the community know today?
The community should know that the bus is free. You'd be surprised that a lot of people still don't know this, even after the pandemic. Even the bus has been free for over 4 years, going on 5 years into next year. So yes, the bus is absolutely free. It's free throughout the entire region. It even offers local routes free. The BRT, Pulse Rapid Transit, that different looking bus that's on the red lanes up and down Broad Street, that's free. And then even also micro transit. So there are some minivans that give folks Uber-like service in some counties like Hanover, Powhatan, and that is absolutely free. So yes, the bus is free.
Yeah. And that wasn't a small thing or even a guaranteed thing. So how did we get to this place where somebody can literally get on the bus and go all throughout the area?
Well, the most challenging thing that happened in the last 5 years since 2020 was the pandemic. The pandemic really reset a lot of things for a lot of people. So transportations agencies all over the world went fare free to cut down on the risk of spreading COVID-19. So when people load a bus, they load the bus through the back to avoid the bus operator, so the bus operator can continue to operate buses. And so one of the things Richmond, Virginia did was transit agencies throughout the nation lost ridership because a lot of people were working from home. A lot of organizations chose to allow companies or their employees to work from home, but Richmond still had people riding the bus at a record. And one thing we realized is that people are riding the bus because the bus is free.
Mm-hmm. Now, somebody could be hearing this and saying, well, that's nice during the pandemic. Yeah, it's nice for some people, but the buses had to be losing money. I mean, this is not a sustainable model, is it? What would you say to that?
That's a good question. And right now, my computer is not going to sustain this battery. So while I'm giving you this information, I'm going to grab my battery. So how is this sustainable? So right now, GRTC's budget is $90 million. Okay. Mm-hmm. And right now, it was projected that GRTC were to collect $6.8 million. $6.8 million in fares. So that's well below 10%, right? 10% of a $90 million budget is $9 million. So, I am not really that great at math. So we could say, hey, that's less than 10%, right? Almost like 8 to 7. So you got this small chunk of money coming from fares. Then you also have to look at that. Let's break 6.8 down, all right? So 6.8 in collection of fares, a portion of that comes from employers like VCU and other employers who want either their students or their employees to use free public transportation or ride free. Mm-hmm. So they pay into that $6.8 million, okay? So now we're only down to $4 million. So only $4 million are actually collected physically on buses or from people like me and you who may use the bus, okay? Mm-hmm. And then it costs almost $2 million to collect it. So we're really not making money off of fares. Mm-hmm. Fares is not something that is sustaining GRTC's budget. The budget, that other portion of that $90 million comes from other sources. So that small portion of fares, yes, as you can see. And so then we look at the impact, okay? This $4 million is being collected from people who make under $25,000 a year. So over half the people who use public transportation make under $25,000 a year. And so we're taxing the most vulnerable folks in our communities. We're taxing, and as we know, during the pandemic, people are still riding the buses. That means they're essential workers. Okay, so we're charging essential workers higher amounts to run our city. And a lot of essential workers, if you're making 25 grand a year, and the poverty line in the city of Richmond is, in the state of Virginia is 29,000. We've seen rent increase. So we are charging people more money to run our city. They can't afford it. So most of the time, people making that type of money, or retirees, we have a large portion, 10% of retirees using public transportation right now, they're on fixed incomes. So they're spending $60 a month on a pass. But if you don't have that money, you're paying per fare. So you can almost spend up to $100 a month because you can't participate in the savings program because you just don't have the $60 up front from a paycheck. So with all of these factors, our organization really got behind this essential service. Not only are we seeing ridership, GRTC estimated that their ridership increased by 10 million. They had 10 million rides last year. That has never, ever happened for GRTC. And then secondly, the state of Virginia, we have a funding pot of money where based on the 39 different transit agencies throughout the region, that pot of money is based on ridership. So that pot of money goes to the agency who has the most rides. It's more of a competition and incentive to get your rides up. Guess what? Guess who's getting the largest part of the funding? We are. Okay. So in some ways, there needs to be a study that's done. I believe zero fare is paying for itself in some ways or benefiting economically, where it's a backdoor boost in people's wages.
Yeah, that's really good. And so ultimately, this one of the silver linings to the pandemic is it allowed us to try something that for many people would have seemed counterintuitive. And we've discovered, oh, this actually works. It's possibly paying for itself or it's having economic benefits. And so y'all have continued to press to keep this going. But accessibility isn't just in the cost. Y'all have also been working on accessibility as far as who can access a bus, where they can go. So tell me a little bit about what's happening there.
So we recently shifted our focus on what bus riders say and need. Number one thing was we want to go places where there's jobs. Okay. So what we've been doing is advocating that buses connect to the counties more. 80% of buses right now run within the city limits, but we're transit individuals. Our life doesn't just reside in the city of Richmond. There are opportunities, employment, healthcare, better food access that exist out onto the county line. So we're encouraging jurisdictions to invest more, especially the counties, into public transportation so that people can move around and access those job centers that are outside of the city of Richmond.
And I could tell you, I've talked to many neighbors, many of who have limited means that when the buses became free, they couldn't believe it. And they're like, oh, is this really true? And how long is this going to last? And it's been a huge blessing for them. But two, like you said, to now be able to access things that otherwise they couldn't because they didn't have transportation or they didn't have enough money to maintain that. It's had a huge impact on the community. So, I feel like there's so much more in all of this. If people wanted to learn more about RVA Rapid Transit, if they wanted to learn more about ways that they can support what's happening or even advocate, how can the community do that?
Well, they can visit our website. It's rvarapidtransit.org. Click on Connect with Us, join our newsletter so you can understand when we're having opportunities to educate folks on how to advocate for public transportation. We have a 5-week training course that we do every spring and fall. We're wrapping up. But also, too, what you can do if you are a part of an organization that has a sustainability statement, such as CarMax, Altria, CoStar, A lot of these organizations operate and they have a mission statement because they're doing business within our region that they want to invest in sustainability. They want to invest in economic mobility. They want to invest in racial justice or justice issues. Zero Fair is it. Zero Fair is all of that combined. And so what we need moving forward in 2026 is we need commitment from organizations, from colleges, and investing in Zero Fair. $6.8 million should come from organizations, but also jurisdictions. And so citizens, people, folks, employees of these organizations, students, if you go to University of Richmond, if you go to VCU, if you go to Virginia Union University, you go to J. Sargent Reynolds, and you have been using the bus for free, call your administration and say, hey, you need to be investing into Zero Fair. Mm-hmm.
That's so good. Well, Faith, thank you for not just sharing, but for the years of hard work you and your team have put into making Zero Fair even possible, continuing it past the pandemic, and pressing for more and more accessibility in multiple ways. It's really blessed the community. So yeah, thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for helping us become neighbors helping neighbors.
Well, thank you for inviting me.